Welcome to this program on how to filigree leather. What is filigree, you ask? Well, in leathercraft, we describe it as cutting out parts of the design, usually the background, and allowing another material to show through the openings. What I have here before me is a checkbook pattern with a traditional Western leather floral design, and if you'll notice, the tracing here looks very much like this. However, there are some differences that make this better for filigree than this is. And let me show you the differences and what to do with them. This is a pretty good pattern for filigree. However, there are some things we need to point out to you that will make it better for filigree. Now, since we're going to cut out the background and glue it to something, we have to keep in mind that the glue won't always hold exactly the way we want it. For instance, here's a good example right here. You'll notice that this leaf does not touch this petal. We need that to touch that petal to make this a good pattern for filigree. And over here on the other side, we've got some areas where there's a lot of open area in here where these leaves will tend to come loose after a while. So let's show you how we would go about fixing those. I have traced the flower pretty much the same way you normally would. Now, I would like to close up this area right here, so what I will do, I will make that leaf there a little bit bigger. And I will bring this down. And so now what I have done, I have attached this leaf to that petal. So there'll no longer be a problem there with this being exposed to becoming loose. Now as I come over here, you'll notice this one does not touch, so I will just make it a little longer so that it touches that petal. Down in this area where we have all these loose things, what I'll do here, I will make this fern swirl a little bigger. And now I will attach this leaf to the fern swirl. This leaf here coming off the acanthus leaf, I will bring that on down and touch this leaf. This one will make sure that it touches the fern swirl. And we have eliminated the problem here. Things that were loose are now attached to something. Out here we'll do the same thing. We will attach this one like this. To do filigree, it's pretty important to use a thin leather. Now in this case, it's a checkbook, so I've used a 3 to 4 ounce natural cowhide. Or if it's going to be a belt, I recommend that you use also 3 to 4 ounce or even 2.5 ounce, and use then an 8 to 9 ounce for the lining. To do the actual filigree, we're going to use a stencil knife, and I like to use the long pointed blade as you see here now. Normally, when you're cutting, you would take the knife and pull it. In this case, that's kind of dangerous, so what I'd like you to do is sink the knife in to the board. Now I highly recommend a board like you see here because it's a little smoother than the rubber board. Now it's just a matter of rocking the knife and pull the leather. This is much better than trying to pull the knife. You get a better control, and there's less danger of cutting where you do not want to cut. So we sink the knife in, rock the knife, and pull the leather. and as you can see, your piece comes out quite nicely. Put the knife all the way through and then pull and rock or saw, and you'll find this works quite nicely. Make sure your blade goes all the way through and into the board. And that's all there is to doing filigree. You notice down here in this large area, it's real easy to do. Push the knife all the way through, pull the leather, and rock the blade. And there is our pattern. It's all cut out now, ready to put our finish on. I have here another design that I'd like to filigree. Everything works good. It all joins up real nicely. However, there are a lot of inside curves, as you see here, and this makes it very difficult to cut with the stencil knife. So this is where the maxi or mini punch set becomes real handy. Select the proper size, and we'll set it right in that curve, and we'll punch that out. Now we'll do that all the places where we have the inside curve. In the case of this one here, I'll have to get one that's a little bit smaller. That's easy to do with the maxi punch. We just change it. And now we have punched this one with a smaller sized tube in our handle, and we can now take our stencil knife and continue cutting out the rest of this background just like we did with the other design. I have put an antique finish on my design, and now it's time to put the background material in. In this case, I'm going to use a metallic silver leather that's real thin. You could use a myriad of things: snake skin, lizard skin. I've even seen, depending on the project, if it's going to be a clock or something hangs on the wall, I've even seen Christmas paper being used as a background, and also denim. So here's how we would do that. I'll turn it over, as you can see, and I like to use a product called Leather Weld. This works very well because, number one, it's very strong and it's very transparent, so that if we do get some of the glue squeezing out onto the background material, it's not a problem. So I'm just putting glue every place I can so that I get a good bond onto my back piece. And the nice thing about the leather weld, it will stick to almost anything. Now, notice I've cut my piece a little bit smaller than the whole leather. This is so that it won't interfere with the lacing and stitching or whatever else we do. And this is all there is to it. Well, that's all there is to doing filigree. I will tell you that you'll probably need to practice a little bit, especially with the stencil knife. However, with patience, practice, and attention to detail, you'll do some really neat filigree work.